Thank you for your patience. The next session is on Buddhism, Origin and Cultural Influence by Khanpo Khonsok Thupson, and he'll be in talks with Dr. Rinchen Dolma. Khanpo Khonsok Thupson is an assistant professor of Bodhi language at the Central Institute of Buddhist Studies. He is regularly delivered talks and lectures on Buddhism, the Bodhi language and the culture of Himalaya abroad. I would like to call him on stage. Dr. Rinchen Dolma is an assistant professor in the Department of History, University of Ladakh. He has done a lot of work on the Ladakh history and Himalaya to the Buddhist region and much more. I would like to call her on stage now.
I think it's wonderful. I welcome you all for this session on origin and cultural Buddhism, its origin and its cultural influence. I am in conversation with Dr. Kimo, who is an expert in Buddhism, of course, but we will be mostly talking in our own dialect, the Ladakhi dialect. So in this session, we will be covering mostly on the how Buddhism originated, and of course not just in India, and during one of the most important period of Indian history in terms of social change, religious change, and how it got spread into different regions of the world, especially Central Asia, and how that has impacted, how Buddhism has impacted those regions. We will be mostly discussing about those things. So, to start with, my question to Kimbala, Buddhism kitna, origin kitna, Buddhism historical context
Samala Jule, Tinata Lasina, Tinata National Book Trust, Government of India, Mata, it's a book exhibition. You might just Mata, you Mata, it's a book exhibition for national level. Mata last it's organized that is first I would like to congratulate to National Book Trust Government of India. Then it's Mata did justice for my to JJ. Then Nasa Then man Nasa discussions of that you ngata nang pechos nongre tenes ngata origin nang pechos tu tene kazu jumska kazu chere ngata jikte ne kaz khapel songa zakan skore ka tene tas ngata diri sang lo nisong tukia thalji ngata nang pechos ko jumsa ketama gyala ne tene ngata sangesha kya tuwa jiru sangesha kya tuwa diri supa talo supa kongsku chung tesku nyanga ladas ne tene lo nisong ngapya chuchu jabduncha talo na sangesha ku nyanga ladas do tene diri sang tene lo nisong chukya thaji ngala tene sangesha jabdan das tene ngata ijiste ne kashka tene sangesha jabdan das ngata zamulia master sangala sangesh jumdan das layula tene khom chosu jukte ya judo tene khom sangla lai bu tampa to ka ku ba tene layula chosu mun jukta sang testing ne tene sangesh jumdan das zamulia tene khom ba I ngata mi sangma chosa tesipia tene skoche se tene to song pasang sangesh jumdan das tene ngata layula sangesh susam so ba yawa chapa layula nesko jate tene sangesh jumdan das diri sanglo nisong tukia thal ngapju thal ji ngola tene sangesh jumdan das tene jikte li biul tene skol das ka ta sangesh jumdan das songba song sangesh jumdan das ko khetena ta sangesh jumdan das ngata izuk shatan gi ya ngata therawa sangesh jumdan das inne ka ngata bol kare sangesh bol sang ya sao bol kare ini ke sang ya steno ngata maya tradition nangji chola sangesh jumdan das real tradition turpesku sangesh na sang ya sate yang da sangesh der sangesh turpa ko jikti sangesh na ngala sangesh jumdan na sang ya sate tene ngata jikte ne bi sangma tene sang ya se ta chose la sang tanche si sangesh jumdan das il turpesku das ka ta sangesh jumdan das skor ngata mang chekija chuma ta ngata juno na sangesh zarpa chubis ta sangesh zarpa chubis pe na tene sangesh te nambe chos skor ta kazu chus ka te samaj ta ngata tangi ngata question and answer session ko sang yumse chusni jun ngata aspe tyo chane lo sangesh jumdan das ngata zarpa chubis juno zarpa chubis na chik ngata galan na khoi zarpa Galdan lain sangesh jumdan tushita jukti apa tene sangesh jumdan das tene hingata jikten la tene ngata chos sumche sipya sangesh ne bil post galdan na poiza tene room su yum yumalantes yak yakos dastan na yum yumalantes sangesh yam nis apa te yum yumalantes sangesh jumdan das room su jupe zata tene amai ngal ben amin ngalena sangesh tene shkol zaska tene sangesh tene testing में मता जपा सुनपा खेते ना स्कूल तापे जाता संगे स्कूल तापे जाता संगे स्कूल तापसा हो खेते ना मता तापसा नेपाल का नहीं आना मता के हमारे पार्टी नो खाट चीज़ नो लुम्बिनी जो लुम्बिनी संगे स्कूल मता संसार testing में संगे जमदन जोई ना मता जो आर्ट्स खासपार में गुस्सा खासपार की का जोई ना खासपार सबका testing में मता kong zulmo nas zulmo khoturu le zatpa ta testing ne chi sungs ka sana sangesh jumdan das zulmo namste tene gyape khaba jiste gyape khaba juara sangesh jumdan das tangata dozgar to sistan tika e jisten be ka pa info miru zakar tuski gyape khaba na dum na tene e jisten be na dembe chos gyala jisben na tene jisten be nimbo miru sangesh jumdan da gyape khaba ne no abisho ya tene shita kholoina shkol zaskapa tene ko sange zaskeka na chi kumar siksane miskewa kan tene gawa kan skeka na chi dugal sama tene jutsa ka sange shunda da chi siskapa gelo chi zuskere ta gelo zuskere da tene shita kholo chika batis ka yuji no siskapa I gelo khetena I jistene ka tene I dugal sama na jate tene I tharba ngata thamja sangi kopang thopche sibya te lama jukane gelong ji ngata inoxis kappa ta testing ne sangi chundan das tene khoji jas kapsana rat jumu jas gelong jas kap gelong rat jumu jas ba ateju testing ne ngata kawas jas ba lotu kawas jas kappa lotu kawas jas ngata बहुत है सुमा टेस्टिंग ने तेरे चाचू की कुर्चत बिजत पा दूध बिजत पा तेरे टेस्टिंग ने माता संगे शुक्र दस नशुक दोर्जे करना संगे बिजत पा संगे बिजत पा वो सुन तक बिना सुधरने संगे चुड़पे स्कूल हुआ मैं माता नंपे माहे नचुर नौजी चुना संगे चुड़पे स्कूल जिसु नस्टो तेरे टेस्टिंग ने चीज़ होगा ना छोटो कोरे बिजत पा छोटो कोरे बिजत पा संगे से ज़्यादा चुपनी से मत मैं समझता हूँ छोटो कोरे बिजत पा सुबह ज़्यादा वो चक्को थे दक्षिण ना संगे शुक्र दस नदी ना युग दे में ना संगे से सुबह ज़्यादा वो तो ना युग आता समय से ना चंबा सेवा इंजे लाभ कंपेशन है क्या ये समाज में तो संगे से कोई ज़्यादा ही छोटो कोरे बिजत पा tadi sini ngata sange cundan das punya ngaladas di zatpas kita untuk ngata logi na sange se zatpa ngata yusap ngata sange se logi na sange se zatpa takut cuma cakap ngata poda takku yo ngata poda takku syarana sange se tene chudul mangkustan ka muslim pamangkus tene pamcu atas kapteo sange se jika minyak chose cewaji pe chudul mangkustan ngata poda takku Matusen kacan seno. Tene ngata supe cuma tene sangya skul tampa sangya spa skunya ngata to tusen sumzer jana. Tusen sumzu bubut pune maji ngata seno pa. Oto ngata ma kacan cici do. Tate sing ngata tupe seji. Ngata tupe sespa jiu kete chino sana. Shoskor puri tusen. संगे चंद्र दे छोटको रूपा सुम स्कोर जस का संगे चंद्र दे छोटको सुम स्कोर चेस इना जो माता मी तुमसो चेस माने संगे से छोटको आमे माले ना जुग जना संगे से छोट सुम का ने लोगिस पामा कोई माय माले ना संगे से ना संगे से जिते के लामस्ताना स्कोर पा सोम पसंग चुपत सी जीव दे छोटको कोल जरपा माता छोटको जेपा सुम संगे चंद्र ता दो जिना आता छोटको तको वाराणसी स्कोर जस Waranasi skor kan ko ngata 4 level truth sigal 4 level truth deji dembaji chosko ko pa chosko ko ketna ine Waranasi skor jaska deji me chosko ko ispa ka parpa sangi me chosko sigal ko dakse ngata boom sila me da kan pauna boom sigal ko ote ka parpa to ketna veshali yang spa chana skor jaska deji me ka thama chosko skor jaska Sompa samte coba jene sange jumlah dasi, ta sompa sam ye jujes tu cin jena, nampe chose jumsa so kita na, khum kita na, daksa kispun bayang par bozo sange shakya tuba, ini nambe jiba sange shakya tuba ne zoom ini jumska. Tes ini sange jumlah das tajok tunga, kushi na kandas punya ngala das. Ina tu sange jumlah das sang jasa tu yang ngala das mereka tongses mereka sijes mereka ina sange chondan dasi school nyangala dasis kuchi lokna ata impermanent meta pailo jitno sange se shos sangmena sangata samro tamches shos se na samro purchase khachan ko ketna meta pe samro impermanent ngata chisi nang ruang dukjes mane ru keli chaga nang mane change that sarkana sache lok samare samro mane ho Soba sange chondan das skunya ngala das strongses kuchi nokna mita per datus skes pe thama chiwa se kam yo kya hai zikare te mata chos message ko yo sange soba sakte ho skorches pe sange chondan das skunya ngala das ka zikare bo soba sak ote chuge na pe chos pe ketna diri sang lo istom tene mata tukya thal jingwala ini gambar ne tu nampe chos tu tene sange chos tu nampe chos tu ketna ini purchase kurke ozu somba sange chondan nampa zaiyo nampa ka nam zakan ko nam se la zaiyo sange chondan ka chos ta cham tik sus na nang sense ini ngata japa inje ngata sense na mas seman tham tok cha chus sangi chungda student ni media chus sunga ngata skon chok ta docha photo maigal transem tham man stis tang na bangko ya patel ya sangi chus ji buku jadi sistem sunga songwasang te samaji ya sana sen zang ko chus ngata nampes tanpa jone nampes tanpa sekarang ko so chino sana gonpa takku jang so so mana bai ene samye se skuchen mo jang te sama sange chose khat chino ba sange se tanpa sekarang ko kana ke sana sense ne dia teo sange se tanpa sekarang ko genojina yung chino jemoji biskya jino yung mata sikcha chikme nakun ngata ya dikwajian bicaji gyor zum soparcha rangi sebe yomsu dul jena ini sem jiwa san dini sange stanbai ko sense de zum pasang otu sugata ngata nampe chose ke kota zulu de loizam tikana ozu juko ke pa
Personally, actually, he talked in very detail about the origin of Buddhism. And if you try to understand the origin of Buddhism, according to the traditional Buddhist sect, so we have two traditions, one Theravada tradition and the Mahayana tradition. So he talked in very detail about the Mahayana concept of Mahayana belief of origin of Buddha, birth of Buddha. So in detail, I won't obviously he has already talked. I'll just say that he talked about the 12 deeds of Sakyamuni Buddha in very detail, and he also touched upon the very basic element of Buddha's teaching also. Now the next question would be, can you? The Buddhism origins from this thing that Buddhism evolved change na जिसने यहाँ जो खाक मंपूश है कि ना Buddhism spread so क्या मतलब बात है तेरे क्या कि ना यहाँ से चिक मूल्य ना
ngata nampe chos ba tene kham sok jo na ngata Mahayana nang Theravada jane gizi ngata bar yang Mahayana Theravada jane yang mana namjungta Theravada chos ma topik mana ja mai chos utako mai ayo ja ngata Theravada jane ba ngata sekali na thekpa chumu je thekpa chumu na thekpa chimo je thekpa se kan ko chiz है capture je ngata kurche chi kurche semena thek ta sompas thekpa chimo na chumu iske na khat na ina jo modelo thekpa chumu khetna basic nampe chos no modelo thekpa chumu chos ngamne na majua thekpa chimi ngamne na patan chunya chos kasto no denbaji na tene mata ke samani nampe chos jirim chok basic chok mata Gyaur bachani namgi naswan ata Theravada nampe ji chok thekpa chumu khetna ata ji chok goma chok nampe chok goma juk jane tene thekpa chumu chok duba jagi lamo jirim ji chok ta thekpa chumu na chumu iske na khat chok chi kya sana sange se sum thekpa chechum khat samskit mo samskit na thekpa chumu se kan ko rang chi ke tonda ha ngata chos mo kya skewas mai nang sange da daju pe ko bang tu chi nang arang chi ko tene I jikte ne ka dungali ya so nang jate tene arang chi ko tene daju pe daju ji thok ko shi tu samte tene follow ko pe se mo gya chi chara ma ngata ngarang chi ke samro tam te chos du ches ko ta thekpa chumu thekpa chemo se ko te yo thekpa cheme chos ko tene chos gya chi Kasum chikchot na, ini I maju nam kesenjan semua, ini ngatang dungal begoskan cikpa, Jawa goskan cikpa, sompasang chos dia cucuk kasum chikchot na, ini siapa ni jancu kesen zekan, budi cita jodoh, jancu kesen zekan, jancu kesen ko ini ngata chos nyamne dudukan ba, tekwa chenmo jodoh, sompasang tekwa chenmo chejung niska, chos dudukta ba samro dia chejung. Tekwa chumu zekan ko sama ya chumu tere jikote tene rang jiko tere jikte ne kat I dunga na jarte jachu be jazu thok ko shera tekwa chumu zekan ko tene ngara jiko tere jikte ne dunga na jarte dikje mera rang na so isendan chuma tene ngata rang ma ma yu kan me kya so ma isuma dor ju isendan sama dungal midot kan jikpa ngata thana bushiri miro butok mana sama awe na diskit sal so basang Oto so tene ngata na pechos pa ketena tekwa chumuna yagala na pechos pa tekwa chumuna chenmo se nizu tatis ni tene na sange so yaga iskete tene ngata Himalaya ke jong pocho te samena tene na pechos na so ketena tekwa chimbe so shuk chenmo takka ha tene so ba tene ngata Cambodia zara to Sri Lanka zara to Burma zara to Thailand zara to biro Oto kunena tene mata tekwa chumi chos to ketena sangya chos bazu tara songa sang daksana both Himalaya yuda kan ko ketena tai chos to ta dukane garra rasta pa chos to ketena mai chos ina ta dukjes ko mana same de ta same ko dukane bi samlo tam chu ko chi kena dubal songa sang tene mata boda tene mata sangya chos ta se Sanges kunyang das kan Sanges kunyang das desine tene lo jikya jisine tene mata nale pandi da chuchu jebra gawra bisi mata nale da pandi gumbulu gawra sanges das kunyang das desine lo jikya sanges te gumbulu are jawa thokme ingin choklan chotat mata nale da kan ko mata jisine ka mata hesti stana University, masang tenang tangko Nalanda University, Vika Krishna University, masang itu. So masang, tapi orang Nalanda University na, jadi kumpul dulu thokme ingin cholang chotak zara tu, jangan ada pandu dulu chotu kan. Tapi mata tapi mata cakap orang ada, mata gonpa jadi jalan jalan, awal kan yuri loh kan. Kan yuri mungkin ada sangat sudah ada sesuatu putih ni. Sanjur ketena sange shunda dese putin yipya mata choru pa ketena tene kun yang jagare pandita sang explain choste the jacha kyaben ne sanjur putin yipya so masam te so tene jagare na tene mata nang pechos kun otu shukchen botaran tharen tene mata turak dutpa 7th century na tene mata poda te saka la poda nang pechos tarches botu ka uies ka ina nang pechos tarches ko 7th century ne poda mata poda chosgal somsan ga poda ka 7th century ne stot ka te jane dakse mata screen sang dakse mata ya nang sache ige sang mera te uketa na turam dut pe 7th century na tene mata thunmi support as ka poda ma ya aspect stot ka khong ya na stot ka 7th century chupa poda mata script yon script में पासन जब वो सुल्तान का जब खेतन जब पे चीज़ जुस्पा देने चुप संगमाने ये ले पासन जब पे कल्चर सिस्टम में पासन ये चीज़ में पासन जब पे तुला तन्नाता असकारा तुले देने यहाँ संग सच्ची ये संगमाजा जुस्पा देने नाता तुल्ली सपोर्ट में खासता चुरुम चिक जगह लश्कर का देने कश्मीर लश्कर का नाता बिहार नाले लश्कर का देने जगह संस्कृत नाम हिंदी नाम के सोच से देने नाता soal penjara yang sajid sama jos apa? Jadi turun pada ngatai jangan nak pecos sama bodoh translate chassis. Jangan kanju nak kanju specha sama podis natas kadena tenis translate chassis busuk sungka. Tes ini turun jadi kau na tene guru rusen tang tene chos dia pun siru tu zat tes utuzul na tene poda nak pecos utuzul tarches busuk ceng tene jikse diul mampenata sange chos utuzul tarchen.
Right now he was talking about the major philosophical difference between the Theravada Buddhism and the Mahayana Buddhism. The philosophical difference is that in Theravada you have to work individually for your enlightenment, and in Mahayana you have to think about, you have to pray for, you have to think about the enlightenment of every single sentient being. So this is a major philosophical difference, and he talked about how Buddhism got spread into other regions, especially in in Tibet. And then the spread was actually was possible because of the great Nalanda masters, and then those masters were responsible for the translation of Buddhist Pali text into Tibetan text. In 7th century, the Buddhist script was discovered and invented. So he talked about all this aspect. So now my next question would be, the spread source this thing, Gyana so Tibet society the Buddhism lives this thing, they society, culture, art, make influence catch Buddhism is just this could
Tenangata both 7th century nangata daksing ngan lajo ngata sekarang tulga netene script nang yang nang sache jukte tene nang pe chos sama poster da juche gozu sumo testi ni ngata both nang pe chos bo speren charang ngata daksang ngata both ngata sect jibiro chos juji jibiro ngata gilu sasya gigma kaju jika tatyo Sisuk sering knowledge pena, sesya pena, yang minda je datang terlupa, nata yang mana? Sompas pena masuk sini mana jumbang pun tertangarang racita, cuma sangki jumbut nata gilu sesya atas pen sasya atas pen mana? Sangka pun nampi show capek show kan itu nata kaji tu, pilar jitu nata poda. Tapi nak bila wajib suka cari kita chosen cakap begitu, jangan jitu, mesti cari jitu. Sepeda ngatan, goma kita nang pola kita nang taksen atas ngatai nang pecos tu challenge cara, goma ngatas ni pecos tu kita nang ngata turap gupa japa gupa nama, teni guru mesti juga. Teni ngata ni pecos, sepeda ngata Ladakh cara ngata cakta gurba tu ada. So pasal yang show nantara, tena sangat je show tu. Tena kanjur show sini pos kanjur, dan barang internet macam mana cara jom tu. Tangan ada cara kita ini kita tu macam mana mata sepeda cam kita jazara tu yang mana? Tena mata coba saja ni orang. Tena mata sang surga tak jazara tu. Tena tu sih nak cara mana? Tena ranji ni show tu kita. Sangka tena boleh mata cuci jika kita, sanggih cuma das ini sumnang cok silo. Sumber sakti ni mata nyikmas, tes ni mata kita na turun jumpa tenuanci cuci kita na, pola ni mata lama marpal usaha, mai translator tak boleh. Jangan lan dunia ni cuci kita. Daksa cok mereka, tezalah mana dulu cuci kita. Sumber lama marpa, ini marpa 200 kilo naru marpa mila rasta. Testi ini teori juta ini ngata kayu jika lecos tujuh sekarang, apa? Tapi testi ini ngata koncok jalan proses kan pode na lama sih juta ini koncok pada mata ini saskia jika lecos inces itu tak sangat sih lecos tu na. Tapi testi ini ngata jauh apa? Jauh apa nama ini ngata giluk sih ngata chos total inches total sama kita nak sanggih contoh tu ini par nale jutpa kan yang kita nale chos jutpa kan yang kita sanggih contoh tu so baca coba ini ngata pola nampak chos tu capek cen ini ngata pola nak jusal arts jimo ini ngata sanggih sesuatu tu jalan cen ini contoh jalan cen ini Tena orang kata mana Himalaya hidup pada orang mana kata painting nanti sampai ke mana kata mal jadi seperti kata mandala sana mandala itu kata yang mana so pas itu betul mana itu sama kata sangat sejuk nantikan jiwa tantrik nantikan jiwa so betul itu kata daksa kata puru nang Ladakh tu kita mana museum itu sih kata Ladakh tu nak berpas Mane kurang jemo nang sangge se japa chuni nang jete te chong tene zu tene nang pe chos kon ot zu tene chape lo du song ska pa
Gentumsnale right now was talking about the influence of the spread of Buddhism, especially in Tibet. He talked about the origin of four major traditions, I would say, of Buddhism: Nima, Sakya, Kalyu, and then Gelugpa. Now, if you look deeper into the philosophical difference of this school thought, we do not have, there is no philosophical difference, but then the only difference is their belief in a lineage and there in some, and a little bit of difference in the rituals, how they do the different rituals. So this is the major difference between this different schools or different traditions of Buddhism. And now coming to the impact of this Buddhism in this region, all the influence we could see in the art, the development of art in this region, especially in the Himalayan regions, the architecture, stupas, and everything, every aspect of society and culture has been influenced by Buddhism. Now, I think we should talk a little bit about Buddhism in Ladakh also. So, Ladakh Tibet Buddhism influence Mankalushi Ladakh history Buddhism history
ngata la na pe chos ko nam le ka zekan ngata zelna la ngata pot ni kale na pe chos male ngala kashmir ni ngata gandare tapse ngata gandare ars ko ngata mul bi jambai ngata dos ku ngata pot ni ngata jimona ngata yang ngata Afghanistan chonga gandara zo oto iskena from skunda perangan dusan iu ngata zo susu kan zo kan pata cha so pasang nang pecho su kelta ngata Ladakh kodla tene pot ni mata sanala tene ngata Kashmir chokna tene nang Kashmir nang pe chukla kumpudo Kashmir boy ngata tilu pan Tilu panaru mana jalan ma dukcin ma takpudi. Kalau lama marpa juga memilih saja lama. Marpe lama tene tilu lama naru. Semua taksekan aja gitu. Lama itu sangat itu. Tene tilu penas naru penas Kashmir coklat sangat nyemon apa. Sobatnya sama pot ni nampe chos ko Ladakh sa malik nala Kashmir chokne yang Ladakh ka nampe chos ko isu ngata takane lo esim ngata talan kelana te subutwa ta pot ni tene ngata nampe chos ko Ladakh chokla tene koma gozu chok ko ngezena nama lo ta jezam lo ta jezam ko ngata 11th century sombasang 11th century pata lo chiktom thali taksa ngata Alcino, Garamono, Tatine Katana Zoy, Spiti Chukme, Tabo, Nesi, Gunbazi, Tatesamena, Tene, Potium Kanata, Nampechos, Tene, Rimoito, Arsi, Chisamas, Penamata, Taxingata, Alcina, Panamusa Dua. Ngata remote sempat Kashmir kan sosi dene ngata remote sosoi so pasang 11th century ne ho dene ngata po lama basa venture sampo Ladakh na pepska la so ko dene ngata tabo spiti ki Ladakh pepde teke no dene ngata Ladakh da dene ngata nang pechos sompo nang pechos ko dene gozuk na tarches gozuk sompo pa tate ni ngata Ladakh da Bola tapsi ngata churuji ya pa churuji ngata nima satya gelu churuji no desa ni dari sange chonda dase chosto chapel chokane mane pilarji kawaji chokno chantena chatmane yo so pasang tene Ladakh tene ngata pode lama susu pepatene gonpa susu chak kaben cheska spena ngata piang gonpa tuksina diri sanglo ngapya thaji ngala pode lama chuje dan mazekan studio ini takta indo ngata masho ngata usasya su ten ngata spitu chikse dikir ten ngata chikse nyerma jadi tu, tiada yang kata saya sini mampu cakap tiada mana yang teka lomjong cokan mana universiti cuci jadi kumus mampu tu, yang cikse yang mana nak masuk kerja, somba sak, otor sekolah universiti mampu tu, somba otor soal ni nak ngata cikse korban nimpau koma stakmod, terus ngata jauh somba pe muslim cikse kan. Jadi tes ni tu ni yang laf kan kata cuci hiji kan ya, somba sampai somba tonta. Sanggih contoh dari sumbu ni capil coa, dah kata cuci hiji kita nak so main tradition. Somba sam, tu ni Ladakh ini kata nampak cuci buat tu kau spell ini kata dah saya tu share sistem.
Okay, Gary was discussing about the spirit of Buddhism in Ladakh, the origin of Buddhism in Ladakh. And according to Gary, like if you look at the origin, we see that Buddhism has come to Ladakh from like two really. Firstly, it has come from the Kashmir side, and for that we have like evidences in the form of like rock sculptures and all. From which we can clearly see there's a clear evidence that Buddhism has first come to Ladakh through Kashmir, the Gandhara art and all other evidence for that. And then later after Buddhism came to Ladakh from Tibet side, and then for those different monks with the foundation of different schools, different traditions in Tibet, with the foundation they started, the monks, the saints, they started coming to Ladakh and they started founding monasteries in Ladakh. And with like that, the Tibetan Buddhism is spread into Ladakh. So, and then now, coming towards that, like the last question I would like to ask personally is, now if present present like Buddhism in Nampe situation where specific
Daksi tu dah mana sanggih juna juna tak sangat tak jauh sih. Dengan so tak cuci semua cuci dengan tak malam cempo mampu cuci tu. Jadi skutin lah, jual tu katin lah. Nampak cuci pada lojong cuci aku mata aku cuci dah mana satu mobil tu. Jadi dengan tak मैं ngata gitu nih cara itu ngata jawab itu anjir itu anjir nah jadi ngata jalan nampe jadi ngata sera dastung galan dan atau ngata manco risu macam itu mampe ngata itu ngata itu si mampoi karena nampe itu dalam jok josa so masa ngata dan atau dalam ini ngata itu dalam lasena dan ngata itu masih sampo nampe sama ngata ya cendek tu aja jesu. Tenang nyambo tenang apa nampe jusla tonang tenang jes nang silkan mama pun. Tapi inang ngata tu ngata yuji ina misalkan sen so gitu. Tangga tak pergi ke legacara. Ngata yuji ga mai ngata jingla cuci kangla cuci mana tezan mana yupa sampai cicit de mana skip ko jina ngata bises kya mana itu sampai cicit kena zuspor na le pas sembe ka sekarang yumce ka mana ta dasar itu spena sembe kalau bar macam itu mai cipta ngatai yung ngata Ladakh ko chaja mane ro haji mana ma exposing na mane ngata yentes mane yung mana sat na talaga jiga lepas tena ngata yuji na ma dana chi mo biwa teo so pasan ya lagi yushe si kasu ngata bi sampai ngata samro kherzo no chozu bi yung mana tene mane yang semat tertok ma jangan joksi dan turjanji yung teo jadi tene ngata sem masjid ko mane ispo mane dadang dari tujuan beda yang mana ini mana mata sekarang yuji kan donji kita mana mana dua ni yang mana yang sama yang mana jika jika mana yang sedikit mana kosong choksi dengan dasar kata las tanah kata jangshop cakkan tiada mana ekspor mana yang mana dasar tenang mana ni gakon di turi mana turi cakap tujuh cakap mana rangsuk cakap mana nganla mana mata mana surah mana dasar mana kata lo cumce mana rangsuk cakap mampu so pasangnya semena mana shanti sekarang mana nyuan mana kalau jiksen beberapa mana datur sih jiksen di nasi pasang tapi yang kata cicu busuk itu lah, kata sanggih condan dasi, lah sanggih condan dasi kujuh itu kata jikte nega stonda sang cicu itu lah, stonda sang mete sumun labjang punya lah, asal nasi tua, nanti sih nggak pilot jadi, bocik kata sekarang mencari buji, Jerman gesture jadi, nah cik lo isu mana cik, kalau lo isu masuk mana kasih tu juga. Dari kurang kujuh tak bisa. Mi sama mana gambar sampai cembo sampai ngat cumce cembo cici nak jadi macam mana? Cakap tak sih. Dari cembo cici ni kata nampak cuma dari misal mana dari kuala jadi apa sih semua. Dia semua nanti kata cici kaji ame ngala tokan macam mana? Siapa saja pun nanti cici kemudian semua yang dikatakan. Kau sering kan ngai locik cici cici, sama locik. Sumpah sampai tu berjuang di kantor sama dah, jadi saya nak shanti nak macam mana? Sumpah tapi dia kata cuduk kasut sikit nanti cuduk uston besok nata locok cuci kacau ni macam mana? Nata sangat contoh dah se sosial media usung tu apa? Ripas gomat terus pa. Orang kata listen cuci, ngeces, cuci ngeces, lobjong study cuci. Tapi dia orang sama orang kata nak cari cuci sama. Testi ni terus sama, testi goba, practical kata meditation goba kita cuci. Terus sama goba subuh ni kata nampak cuci, nampak cuci, nampak ripas cuci. Goba terus mana dia apa? Terus pada hari gomba dari lalu dalam zikir, tapi lalu cipta aja terus. Semua sang gomba terus pada kalau musik. Tapi dia dah dari ngata turun, dah dari ngane selalu ngata dulu jujur cuma sama. Dah dari ngata Google nang internet nang apa, ngata nampak cuma dari cici ngata Buddhism ngata sekolah kasuci nang mana Google ni search nang apa nanti dah demo tu lama nang Mani tezana kita betul sih sama sama. Daksan kata question itu sama nang betul sih dia nang lama nang yang betul sih sama sama. Ye juches macam ni kerja na, tanda. Chos azuk sih Muslim itu, Kristen itu, Hindu chos itu, sem skip itu, sem zaman itu. Sama sama. Tesowe zaman yang kan jika chos lajah semuanya ni, tanda kata sem senai gereja itu. Mia itu cuci, tapi kau semua sampai semua kita dari itu mana nampak tanpa segini ya. Sanggup sih, mata kucu tangan ya. Tas yang sanggup tanpa tas yang kucu tangan macam. Sanggup sih tanpa tas itu dari hal terus pak. Sanggup sih terus pengetahuan study cuci, jika sambut cuci, tidak practical gomces. Semua sanggup tanpa sekarang misteri lah. Shuru sekarang mo baru lagi itu zaman. Shuru sekarang apa? Yang sekarang apa sih masih jual ada? Mentu sih itu berapa lagi? Shuru sekarang apa? Shuru sekarang apa? Nye church de nija mane tharpa na sange kupang mane chitne chamar ra sena church to lepte mane da sange studio na gesa jiwala te usu dekya dagi goni dagi time gyara church sena ra uta seman thakto dansen sun sukko chama tene ra bukan unchi chalo but dagi time dagi gona kya ra hans kya Rancho, gyala sem sampo chun gyala chun gyala chun sange sis rami so basa ngata nampe chusena ta chus pampui tena sang demo hago che lamo sema phanpo tesu ngata yesa jiwa le chati de ina ngata shuju chamchu se becho pala ju boi no ote shuju ko tena ngata shuju ko taksa book samena to ngata English na to ko na language mampera to so basa te so kun tene nampe pa so se basic to ji to ko so ba tena to ngata so nampe chu na de tate so ngata ju chu ji ke pa to je
And while discussing about the current situation of Buddhism, Ganley talked about how we have been engrossed in the worldly affairs and materialistic world, that we are not being able to practically apply the Buddha's teaching, which talks about the peace of mind, compassion, peace and everything. So there is a need, urgent need for every one of us to actually practically apply those teachings. And now, at the end, I'll just sum up the main discussions that took place in this session. We talked about the origin of Buddhism, how it originated in Northeast India, and how it got spread to other regions like Himalayan, especially we discussed about Tibet and other Himalayan regions, and how Buddhism has impacted the culture, society, art, architecture, everything in those regions. And then we came to Buddhism in Ladakh, where we talked about Buddhism from Kashmir, Buddhism from Tibet, and then at last we also talked about the present condition of Buddhism in the world. With this, I want to thank again Khenpo Chokuzane,
Thank you for this enlightening session. We have an honoring gift for you from side of NBTIndia. I would like to present it.
Rajin. ये किसका पानी हमारा ही है? लेकिन ये भी बंद करता है बॉडी कम कर
The next session is on story from behind the camera, media in the digital era. In this session, we will be talking about art, culture, cinema, and theatre. The session will start shortly.
खींचना मत खींचना हाँ आराम से देखो देखो थोड़े बड़ी बड़ी बड़ा कर दो चल रहा है हाँ चल रहा है बंद कर दो ये भी चल रहा है ये तो दिक्कत नहीं ये लाइट है
Our last literary session is about to start. I would like to request the audience at the stalls, please come and take part in this wonderful literature program. It will be about media, art and culture and theatre in the digital era.
उस दीवार से दीवार पहुँच जाएगी हाँ वो 23-22 मीटर तो होगी ज़्यादा ज़्यादा जो कहते हैं ना कम निकल कुछ तो आता है कम निकल के 25 मीटर पूरा आता है तो सही और दीवार भी इतनी वो इतनी वो वाणी की तार इसके मुताबिक ठीक है किसके मुताबिक मेरी अलग क्वालिटी दार है भाई साहब क्या बात कर रहे हो वो अलग क्वालिटी की ये 1400 की है ना ये 800 रुपये की केबल है ये 800 रुपये की केबल है कितने मीटर है 5 मीटर है
ज़्यादा है 5 मीटर से
ये नहीं ये मेरी वाली
अच्छा
ये 5 मीटर है
ये तो 25 है
ये 5 मीटर भी कम है
ये 25 है।
ये तो 25 है ये 5 मीटर के करीब है ये 5 मीटर ये भी नहीं है
5 मीटर हाँ
ये 5 मीटर नहीं है ये देते हैं 5 मीटर बोल के
5 मीटर
3
15 फीट कहाँ है
3 मीटर है
3 मीटर होगी ये बस
10 फीट होगी 3 मीटर होगी
हाँ क्योंकि वो पैकिंग पे लिखा होता है इनका कितना है पैसे उसके चार्ज करते हैं ये वाली देखेंगे दूसरी तार है देख लो इसका तो ये देख लो मेटल का है मेरे वाले का दोनों में ये देखो इस दोनों में क्वालिटी का फर्क है इसका जो इसका जैक मेटल का है इसका 4 फीट है और ये एक हमारे पास है उसमें उसका जो ये वाला जैक है ना आधा रहेगा
आप कह रहे हैं मिक्स इसलिए इतनी लंबी नहीं चलती सिग्नल पे ना
मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ इस कैमरे में चल जाएगी 100% मेरे वाले कैमरे लगा के भी चेक कर लेते हैं अभी कुछ भी नहीं होगा
आपके फुल एच डी नहीं लगता ना
हाँ
मेरे में निकाल देना
इसको लगाऊंगा दोनों का बटन दबा देंगे आगे देखो कि तुम्हारी तरह कैमरा उठा नहीं रहा है, मेरे कैमरे में चले ही रहे।
Session is about to start. Is on Stories from Behind the Camera, Media in the Digital Age by Manish Singh from PTA in conversation with Kanchan Sharma from NBT India. Manish, a featured writer with Press Trust of India. The last 7 years in PTA, he has extensively covered art, culture, books, and Indian heritage-related stories as well as human interest stories. Ms. Kanchan Sharma is an editor NCCL at NBT India. I would like to call them on stage.
यार वो नहीं लेके जा रहा है, तो सेशन में समझदार
Good evening, everyone. Julie Ladakh? Good. So, although this is the last session of this day, we have more tomorrow. The crowd is slowly coming and going. But this session is important. ये session बहुत important है, क्योंकि इस session में हम लोग media, press, इस सब का रोल जानना चाहते हैं. इस जगह की rich cultural, literary, जो एक richness, एक treasure है, how to take it to mainstream, and how mainstream can connect with us here. That is why this session is important. And of course, my colleagues have introduced Manish ji from PTI. So we will ask him a few questions, and we will try and understand more about the media, the press, how do we go with it, what all is lacking, what all is great, what is the connectedness that we need to bring in. So I think I'll start with the first question. So I have my questions written down, so it's on the paper. We talk about the focus of media on the mainstream news. When we talk about a region like Ladakh, it has so much to offer. There is richness in language. There is richness in culture. We see culture at every 10 bases. We see language. We see the monastery with its libraries filled with books, filled with rare material. But we find that all of this is portrayed here. Till the time I came here, now I realize so much is there, which we don't know. Mainstream, the moment we go out of here, we don't know. So what are your views on it?
Thank you, Kanchan, and thank you, NBT, for having me here. And people have come back and now leave, but that's all right. So coming back to the topic, it's really unfortunate that over the last few decades, last 10 or 15 years, if I may say so, that mainstream media has, digressed from covering soft things, as in art, culture, and the heritage, as she talked about, and even the earlier panelists, they talked about the rich heritage of Ladakh. Almost all the monasteries have libraries. They have lakhs of books and such material, but we don't get to learn about them in mainstream media. What is the reason? The reason, I believe, is today news is all about what is being read and what is being heard about. So when is Ladakh in news? When some, natural calamity happens, or something political happens, or if there is an election. That's the only time we hear about Ladakh or any remote region of India. We will not be hearing about this festival or the Ladakh Nomadic Festival that's happening a few kilometers from here in mainstream media, on news, on TV news or national newspapers. We won't hear about it because it does not make money. It's as simple as that. So the problem is, see, Ladakh Festival is happening here, or Nomadic Festival is happening in Hamley. So they invite mainstream reporters. I have been here several times to cover different type of events. I was here for Hamis Festival in 2019 or 18, I remember. But because this entire environment of media is so fast-paced, we don't get to do our homework. We only know about, I went to Hamis, I learned about the monastery only as much as I needed to know, not more than that. I did not try to, get behind the doors of the monastery, get into the library, or maybe talk a little more with the monks, with the experts, and learn more about the heritage, about the culture of the region. I covered what I was asked to cover because I did not have time, because I had to go back and report, okay, this festival happened and this is what I got. So this is a really unfortunate thing that's happening today in digital media, specifically in digital media. In newspaper, it's still alive. We still get to see, features. We call these type of writings features that talk about culture, art, or books, or music, heritage. All of these things. These are features, and I specifically write features. So, if a journalist, a mainstream journalist is coming to Ladakh, they do not have their homework, and they will probably report about Pangong Lake. They will probably report about a little about the Ladakhi food or the clothes. But there's so much more than that, and that's just lost behind the translation, or lack of homework, or lack of initiative on part of the media house or on part of the journalist himself. So yeah, that is where it is lacking. So first and foremost thing is homework. For every media professional, homework is paramount. You have to find out about the place where you are going, not just Leh, anywhere you are going, not just Ladakh. You have to find out, okay, this is the main point, there is Kikse monastery, there is this monastery, there is that monastery. But what are the stories around those monasteries? Who are these people who are part of these monasteries? Okay, and what is the ecosystem around those monasteries? These are the stories that never see the light of the day. So that is really important, and what can be done about that is just simply from the point of view of a journalist, you have to do your homework. From the point of view of an organizer, you have to give that material, you have to encourage the person you have invited to cover such an event. So, they have the venue to do all of that, they have the resources to, go behind the scene and talk to people and, find the stories that are not being talked about.
That's right. But I still feel that is it also only the, the responsibility of an organizer to call? I mean, why wouldn't media houses feel that it is also their responsibility to somewhere bring the story of certain regions to mainstream? Now, if I talk about Ladakh, here Hindi is as much prevalent. बहुत अच्छी हिंदी हम सब बोलते हैं यहाँ पे, सब समझते हैं लद्दाख में. So ऐसा भी नहीं है कि लैंग्वेज इशू है, तो भी वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी मीडिया क्यों नहीं लेती है
कि यहाँ की स्टोरी हम मेन स्ट्रीम तक पहुँचाएं, उसके लिए आपको क्या लगता है मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया को क्या करना चाहिए?
As I said, it has become a really unfortunate series of events because till a few years ago, a lot of channels and even a few government-sponsored channels used to have dedicated programs that only ran these kind of stories. But you know, the number of such stories, such programs are dwindling. It's really unfortunate. Yes, media houses should do, and specifically for journalists like me. I mean, I will have more stories to tell. So yeah, media houses should do more about it, and they should, maybe invest more in such reporters, such writers, and invest more in such stories.
हम ये भी नोट करते हैं जैसे कुछ जगहों पे यूट्यूबर्स हो गए, बच्चे हो गए, टीन्स हो गए, सो वो कुछ स्टोरीज मेन स्ट्रीम तक अपने यूट्यूब चैनल के थ्रू, अपने सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू पहुंचाते हैं. सो उसको ऑगमेंट करने के लिए क्या सोशल मीडिया को भी उतना ही स्ट्रॉन्ग होना चाहिए आपके व्यू में?
It's a really good point that you have taken up, because social media, YouTubers and influencers, as we call them these days, they have become a very integral part of this entire ecosystem, and not just for tourism. There are so many YouTubers and influencers who are bringing out stories from very remote corners of the country, not just Ladakh, but all over the country. And they are very important. To augment them, that would be something really amazing. To streamline the entire ecosystem, that would be amazing. But right now, what's happening? It's basically why anyone becomes an influencer, so they can have 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 20 lakh of followers, and they can start making money through their channels. And what do? They will go to only specific places where all the tourists go, and they'll maybe they'll put out a video for money, which is not really a good thing, because when you are doing something for money, you are not doing it for stories, and stories are just you forget the story. What's the story? You don't care about it. You only care about, okay, this video by that person got so many views and he must have made this much amount of money. So you try to copy that formula. That is not a good thing. But the entire system of influencers and YouTubers is a really good thing, because a lot of people who genuinely love to travel, who genuinely love to tell stories, they are actually going to different corners of the country and bringing out stories from these places. So social media is a really interesting place right now, and Indians are really have taken to it. The interest is amazing.
Very true. Another thing, like we have some young people here. What according to you, or why according to you, should they choose media as one of their career? Why should they choose it? And if they do, what all should they keep in mind? And firstly, I think that when they think about taking up media, they think it's all about glamour, camera, and other things. But I think it's more what is there. And even behind that camera, there is so much pressure, stress, responsibility, which I think young people may or may not know. What would you like to tell them?
So now I have to go into my life story. So I did BTech. I'm an engineer by graduation, but that was something that I did not want to do. And my father was really mad about it, because in my last final year I told him that, okay, this is not I want to do, and he told me कि तो मेरे 4 लाख रुपए क्यों खराब किए. But anyway, I didn't have any answer to that कि क्यों खराब किए. That was not my aim. But I knew in my final year कि ये वो चीज़ नहीं है जो मैं करना चाहता हूँ. I wanted to write. I wanted to be with people, among people, hear their stories, know their stories, and be able to tell those stories to more people. That's what motivated me. And so I went to one of the premier organization in the country, media organization, and in my interview they asked me, "अच्छा आपको लिखना है तो why become a journalist?" I told them, okay, see, first of all, I want to write, I want to tell stories. The same thing I told them. Then I came out and I met other interviews. They actually told the people who were inside कि हम दुनिया बदलना चाहते हैं या फिर कि हम समाज का भला करना चाहते हैं. After 10 years in this profession, I have come to realize that does not happen. It may happen, but it happens at such a small scale that you will never be able to comprehend. You will never be able to see that change. It will happen when the same thing is being done by, say, 1,000 reporters. But that does not happen. Because media, as any other industry, is a business. So, if you ask me if you want to become a journalist, if you want to take up media as a profession, do it for yourself. If you want to, experience new experiences. Because in the last 10 years, I cannot count in several pages how many things I have experienced. I have done stories on history, I have done stories on art, music, culture, I have done stories on rape victims, I have done stories on suicide, I have done stories on LGBTQ issues, mental health issues, I have done stories on budding artists, I have done stories on people who I talked to one day and they died the next day. And it's a new story. And it changes you entirely, and that's the best part about this profession. You will never be bored of it. That's the best thing about media, that's the best thing about journalism. You will never be bored of it unless you are true to your profession, unless you are, you know what you want.
Is there any story that you think you would like to share with us which was challenging for you to cover? I mean, we understand that at times you want to cover a story, but you are under pressure to not cover it, or vice versa. Any such story you would like to share with us?
So one story that I don't know if it affected me. Obviously, if I might say, it even scarred me. But I believe all these audience are very understanding adults. Almost all of them are adults, I think. So this happened right after the conviction of Nirbhaya rape accused, and they were destined to be hanged on one particular day. And as Asma introduced me that I write features on human interest story, I was asked to go to this particular colony where these accused used to live, and their families still stay there. So I was really uncomfortable, because when I signed up for this job, this was not something that I had in my mind, that I will be talking to families of people who are about to be hanged. So, but anyway, it's a job, and my bosses asked me, so I went there, and I had to find the houses. Nobody was ready to talk to me. But then eventually I found the houses, and only one family agreed to talk to me. And it was a very small house. It was one room a house. And I went up there, and the mother, as all mothers are, mothers will always love their children. So I just wanted to understand how she was feeling, and if she wants to say something to the government or the people of India. And it still gives me shivers to remember that entire conversation. She barely spoke. She was just crying, and she was crying, and she fainted once or twice, and I still remember that. And I could not sleep for several nights after that. And the next morning, her son was hanged, who was a criminal in every sense, but that does not take it away from his mother. She loved him as a son, and that does not change the fact. So yeah, that was one story that I wish I didn't have to do, but yeah, it was a job.
I think media's job is to bring the truth to the front. Now, coming back to where we started, to promote the culture, the culture of this state, for example, this region when we talk about Ladakh, and art. How do you think that other organizations, I mean, we generally put the onus on government. How do you think the other organizations, or let's say individuals like all of us here, should work towards it, so that we actually support the media to report these stories to mainstream?
So, first of all, government, and not just center, but the onus, not just, not squarely, but a large part of it lies with the government. Be it local administration, and local administration plays a very, very important role in bringing the culture and heritage to mainstream. So Ladakh administration has been doing an amazing job with that, with coming up with the language day and other festivals. So what I believe other organizations can do is that they can start initiatives on their own, and I can assure you from my experience that governments will always be happy to lend a hand to these organizations. They'll always be there to support these organizations, because I have seen in Delhi so many festivals happening from Bihar, from Odisha, from Northeast, and they always have the support of the ministry, their local governments, and governments of their states. So these organizations will always have the support of the administration, and the only thing is that the organizations need to come forward, and not just organization in these events, but also commercial activities. Like, I don't know if you have heard of this place, but there's a place in Delhi. It's called Delhi Hat. So Delhi Hat is a tourist destination, you may call it so, because locals don't go there. The major reason is it's expensive. It's kind of expensive. But tourists go there and they get to buy things from Ladakh, buy things from Nagaland, buy things from Karnataka, and eat their authentic cuisine. Not just a Delhiite wouldn't be sitting behind the counter making Mysore dosa for you. It will be a person from Mysore or that part of the country making that particular dish for you. So that is another thing that can be looked into to bring this kind of culture and heritage to mainstream India and to mainland India.
I don't know how many of you know here about Delhi Hat in Delhi. I don't know. Do you? Anyone? No? It's a wonderful place. So Delhi Hat, although we call it, we have representation of culture, art, food, clothes from every part of India. And all of us go there. So today, if we want to have a feel of, for example, South India, say Karnataka. So there is things there. So yes, you're very right. It was a good example. It is an exchange and amalgamation of cultures, art, dress, food, everything from all across. We could have certain like these things here, very true, if you would, because then the boundaries, there are no longer those boundaries that we talk about it. It's all one place. And I guess lots of people here in Ladakh, I find, are coming from lots of places, and a lot of people from Ladakh go to other places. So probably that kind of a mix has to be brought in from both sides.
I would like to add one more thing. So I was thinking about this earlier. How tourism or this kind of cultural assimilation or these experiences, they should be directed more towards the middle class of Indian economy. Because I have felt when a middle class family comes to, comes out of their house to a part of a country, say if a middle class family comes to Ladakh, they buy something. They are going to cherish that thing, be it a thanka or be it a firan, be it anything else. They are going to cherish it till it just does not fade away. Okay, and they will be telling about that piece of art or that piece of culture to every single person who comes to the house, and they will, make sure that that thing survives. That does not happen with higher income groups or a part of that kind of artifact or that kind of a materialistic thing that goes into such a house. It may get lost in other such artifacts. So what I like to say that you should target middle class families and. I mean, it's for me as well. I come from a middle class family, and the prices should be in that range. So if I go to a market and I want to buy a dress for my wife, it should not cost me 10,000 rupees, which is much higher than what it should cost, and I should be able to buy it and bring it back home, and then my wife can tell other people, okay, this is something we bought from Ladakh, and if you go to Ladakh, you should also buy this. So that is another thing that I should, I think it would, help the entire ecosystem.
Right. So before I throw the floor open in case there are questions, last question आपके लिए. आप यहाँ से क्या लेकर जाएंगे मेन स्ट्रीट में? आप यहाँ का क्या रोल करना चाहेंगे मेन स्ट्रीट में?
So I came here yesterday, but I mean I have some experience of a few visits earlier. So what I love about Ladakhi culture are the thankas. I have a few thankas at home, and I just adore those. They are just so full of stories, and you can keep looking at them for hours. That is one thing of art that stays with you, and anyone who enters your house, it will definitely attract their eyes. So that is one thing that I'm bringing, taking back to mainstream again. And as far as stories, I know this entire the thing about mainstream and not so mainstream. So yeah, obviously when I meet people, I tell them stories that they may not have heard from anyone else. So yeah, that's my part, I think.
I personally realized that myself having come from Delhi, I realized लद्दाख में बहुत सारा ओरल कल्चर है, बहुत सारा ओरल कल्चर है, एंड उसको हम प्रॉपरली शायद हमें डॉक्यूमेंट करना होगा. अब वो डॉक्यूमेंट हम करते भी हैं तो दैट इज प्रिजर्व्ड इन लाइब्रेरीज, आई रियलाइज. So probably that documentation isn't it? People are so warm, so welcoming. There is so much culture here, and even a small piece of carving like this wood picture carving I find even on this and certain places. This is so much there. So I totally agree with you with the thalkas that you said. Again, a part of oral tradition documented in that form. So I feel that yes, all of us need to take back from here and actually disseminate that information, that rich treasure that is here to mainstream, so that we are able to make it not just a tourism destination, a literary destination as well, which we don't realize. This is a place for literary destination, and there's so much we can do, all of us together, to take it to mainstream, to take it to other parts of the country, and to actually put it on the forefront, right? So if anyone has any questions, we'll be very happy. Manish will be very happy to answer them. I'm sure you want to ask lots from media, but there's always that thing that media is only XYZ. Media is more beyond it.
Anything about media, how it works, what we do.
Hello, sir. तो सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि मैंने देखा है कि मीडिया जो है ना कि उन्हें अगर कुछ स्टोरी या फिर आर्टिकल लिखना हो तो उन्हें जो है मतलब कभी कभी पॉलिटिक्स के अगेंस्ट भी जाकर या फिर उन्हें जो है उनके मतलब स्टोरी के थ्रू मतलब आर्टिकल लिखने के बाद बहुत सारे एनिमीज भी गेन होते हैं। तो सर जो कि मेरे लिए तो मुझे लगता है कि वो बहुत ही बड़ा एक स्टेप है उनके लिए। सो माई क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इंस्पायर द मीडिया टू टेक अ ह्यूज स्टेप? Or I want to ask you the question that what inspired you to take a huge step? Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't exactly get the question. Huge step of what?
मतलब सर जैसे कि अगर मीडिया को जैसे कि आपको कुछ स्टोरी लिखना हो लेकिन वो जो है पॉलिटिक्स के अगेंस्ट हो या फिर हाँ पॉलिटिक्स के अगेंस्ट हो तो फिर भी आप मतलब कई ऐसे मीडिया है जो मतलब उनके अगेंस्ट जाकर भी फिर भी आर्टिकल्स लिखते हैं उनके बारे में मतलब स्टोरी मतलब छापते हैं। तो व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड देम आई मीन और यू?
Got it, got it.
Thank you, sir.
So my beat, as we call it, my field does not demand of me to do such stories, but I know of so many people. So one thing about media is that there are both type of people, as is the case with every place. It's in defense forces, it's in police, it's in bureaucracy, that you always find good and bad people. So that same happens in good media and bad media. There are people who will support you through thick and thin. If you want to follow a story that's may get an FIR against you, or that may you one day you wake up and you find some gundas outside your house. That happens. It happens. But if you have a very strong support system behind you, if you have very strong supportive editors behind you, your company supports you, then you will perfectly be fine. Because it's your job. It's as much a job as a policeman's job. If a policeman does honest work, they put their lives on the line every single day against criminals, against criminal elements, but they do want to do their jobs. And it happens there. Well, they might have good seniors, they might have bad seniors who will support them or not support them. So yeah, that's the basic motivation, that it's your job and you want to do it with honesty.
Do we have any other question? Yeah, sure.
Very good evening, sir. First of all, I feel very glad to meet you. I don't know, at first, I don't know, I never meet you, and also I don't know your name, but now I know, you are a journalist, and also you are writing so many stories behind not only do the journalist job, but also the writing, the story behind. So I really like it. And also मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि एज अ जर्नलिस्ट जो मैं अभी यहाँ पे बैठ के मैं सोच रही थी कि जो आपने जो निर्भया केस पर जो आपने मेंशन किया कि वहाँ पे निर्भया केस पर चलो वहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोग थे जो मतलब बहुत सारे क्या कहते रेपिस्ट जो थे वो बहुत सारे थे, विक्टिम्स बहुत सारे थे, तो नो विक्टिम्स नहीं हाँ गिल्टी तो हम सिर्फ उसको देखते हैं कि मतलब जिन्होंने उनका रेप किया तो हम उनको उस नज़रिए से देखते हैं, रेपिस्ट के नज़रिए से। हाँ रेपिस्ट तो है ही, पर उनके पीछे क्या स्टोरी है, जैसे कि उसकी माँ उनको कैसे प्यार करती है, पर जो रेपिस्ट ने तो नहीं सोचा कि कैसे मतलब अपनी माँ का ख्याल नहीं आया होगा वो शायद से, पर फिर भी आपने वो स्टोरी आपने सबके सामने लाया, वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। पर सर अभी मेरा जो मेन क्वेश्चन है वो ये है कि कुछ मीडिया मैंने जब मैं छोटी थी तब मैंने जब हमारे सोशल मीडिया पे कुछ वहाँ पे गैदर हुआ था तब मैंने भी यही क्वेश्चन मैंने उनसे भी किया था, मीडिया जो है मुझे मीडिया को इस नज़र से देखना चाहिए, सबको मीडिया पर ट्रस्ट होना चाहिए, पर कुछ मीडिया है जिनकी वजह से ट्रस्ट खत्म होते जा रहे हैं, मीडिया से ट्रस्ट उठते जा रहे हैं। मीडिया सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ मीडिया जो है एक तरफ से वो जस्टिस दिलाता है, एक तरफ से पुण्य का काम भी कर रहा है कि लाइक लोगों को जहाँ पे इनजस्टिस हो रहा है वहाँ पे जस्टिस दिला रहा है। तो लाइक वहाँ पे कोई लोग ऐसा होता है कि मतलब कुछ मीडिया की वजह से सारे मीडिया का नाम खराब हो जाते हैं। तो उस टाइम मैंने पूछा कि उन मीडिया के खिलाफ क्यों नहीं गवर्नमेंट एक्शन ले रहे हैं। तो उस टाइम ने कहा था कि लाइक ऐसा नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि सब लोग अपने पैसे पे मनी पे रहे। तो उन्होंने ऐसा कहा कि जो भी फेक न्यूज़, अगर कोई फेक न्यूज़ फैला रहा है तो वो फेक न्यूज़ जो है उसको किसी वेबसाइट पे जाके पता करना होता है कि ये न्यूज़ जो है फेक है कि ट्रू है। तो इससे मुझे कोई फ़ायदा नहीं हुआ ना कि वहाँ पे पहले न्यूज़ बताएंगे, फिर हम देखेंगे उस वेबसाइट पे जाएंगे कि ये न्यूज़ जो है सही है कि गलत है। तो ऐसे फिर तो मीडिया का होना मतलब मुझे कोई फ़ायदे हुआ ही नहीं कि पता करो कि ये सही है। फिर धीरे धीरे जो है मीडिया पे से पूरा भरोसा ही उठ के मतलब चले जाएंगे, भरोसा ही नहीं होंगे नेक्स्ट टाइम से। तो लाइक मैं आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ कि लाइक क्यों नहीं उन पे स्टेप उठाया जाता है, क्योंकि अगर अभी से हमने मीडिया को सख्त किया तो पीपल में इतना सारा मिसकम्युनिकेशन नहीं होगा, उनमें लाइक झगड़ा नहीं होगा, सब सारे लोग इक्वलिटी और यूनिटी, तभी हमारे इंडिया में यूनिटी इक्वलिटी तभी होगा जब हमारी मीडिया भी अगर एक सही तरह के काम करे। जब वो लोग अगर कुछ गलत काम करें तो कोई गवर्नमेंट उनके खिलाफ एक्शन उठाए। सॉरी सर, थोड़ा सा लॉन्ग हो गया।
So, what's your name?
Zomskit sir.
Sorry?
Zomskit.
Zomskit.
Yes sir.
Okay. So, it's a very pertinent point that you have raised, and it's really unfortunate where our media has gone today, and not just our media. It's happening globally that you cannot blindly trust media. You could never do that. Ever since there were Romans, they would send somebody out to read a bulletin, a gazette they would call it, and वो gazette उस हिसाब से होता था जो राजा चाहता था। राजा झूठ भी बता सकता था gazette के अंदर, ठीक है? So that thing is still happening. यहाँ अब राजा बदल गया है, okay? And as we all know, I mean, there are, as I was telling her, there are all types of people everywhere. There are good people and bad people, and if one media is not doing their job honestly, there has to be a reason behind it. Either it's a business that's pushing money, or there are corrupt politicians behind it. I mean, it's across party lines. It's not restricted to one political party or anything, but there are always bad politicians, there are always corrupt politicians, there are always corrupt businesses who would want एक स्पेसिफिक टाइप का न्यूज़ वो चाहेंगे कि ऐसा न्यूज़ चाहे। सो व्हाट आई वुड सजेस्ट, जो आपको पहले भी किसी ने बताया, ट्राई टू रिसीव योर न्यूज़ फ्रॉम डिफरेंट सोर्सेज, नॉट जस्ट वन सोर्स। दैट इज वन थिंग you should do. And so in India, print news is still quite reliable compared to TV news. Because TV न्यूज़ में ये होता है कि आप जितना सेंसेशनल दिखाएंगे उतना आपका TV कोई देखेगा, ठीक है? मैं जाके बारिश में खड़ा हो गया हूँ, मेरे पर ज़रूरत नहीं है मुझे बारिश के भीगने में खड़े होने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है, बट मैं खड़ा हूँ, लोग देख रहे हैं, लोग अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हैं कि हाँ इनका रिपोर्टर तो वहाँ जाके खड़ा हो गया। It's not adding anything to the story. It's just sensationalization. It's just that. You don't need that. अखबार में ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होने वाला। The newspaper is going to only those people who are already buying your newspaper. वो पहले होता था कि आज की ताज़ा खबर मूवी में दिखा दिया, आजकल नहीं होता। अगर मैं न्यूज़पेपर ले रहा हूँ तो मैं ले रहा हूँ। ऐसा नहीं है कि ये खबर मैंने थोड़ी सी ऐसे कि ये अगली लाइन पढ़ेंगे तो आप शॉक से मर जाएंगे। अगर मैं ऐसा लिख दूंगा तो मेरे 50 सब्सक्राइबर बढ़ेंगे नहीं। But that does not apply to TV news or websites. They do that and they do get subscriber or clicks or views based on that. And as far as जो punishment की बात है, punishment मिलता है, but then वो everything boils down to the same thing: how corrupt or non-corrupt are the politicians or are the people behind those stories are. अगर वो corrupt नहीं है, then obviously they'll take action. Obviously, if you are, there are so many cases against so many media personals ऑल ओवर द कंट्री जिन्होंने कभी किसी के खिलाफ कुछ गलत न्यूज़ चलाई, इट वॉज जेन्युइनली गलत न्यूज़। कभी किसी रेप केस में बच्ची का चेहरा दिखाया तो उनके ऊपर केस चल रहा है, या किसी इसी टाइप के कोई क्राइम के अंदर माइनर का नाम छाप दिया है, माइनर का नाम ले लिया है, तो उनके ऊपर केसेस चल रहे हैं। देयर आर सच केसेस running right now in all over the country, so yeah, that's happening.
Thank you, Manishji. I think we've covered lots of topics and got to understand lots, and also your story, because that would inspire some young to actually think that if they want to take up media as a career, so that can be taken up at any time. And so that's wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for a wonderful audience. I think Asma has something.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. I hope it was informative for everyone. For me, it was. Thank you. We would like to present a tote bag, a symbol of Ladakh festival to you, and I would like ma'am to gift it to you. Thank you.
यहाँ 105 में कहाँ होता है यहाँ वाले पीछे वाले ही होते हैं, यहाँ से भी नहीं है।
With this, we conclude the literary session, but the cultural programs are still going on. They'll start at 5. You will find a canopy of color outside. There's a tent. I would like the audience to shift there. Here I conclude the day. Thank you.